And now, presenting the second year in a row and the only host at this point that will do these, put your hands together for your host, Sam Harrison! Hello again to all of you wonderful people to once again have a prediction from yours truly, where today I will be doing a similar approach to last year, where I'll be giving a focus and come with some of the predictions as to who I feel may have the most likely chance of winning a big this year's upcoming now annually event of the Game Awards, as they're celebrating their 10th anniversary. And it's hosted by the entertainment host himself, of Jeff Keighley. Now, the likes of every year, there is a lot of different categories, nominations, and announcements that come from this event. And the basis as well, there will be some of the awards that will be most likely skip over in the similar nature to the previous event, which is mainly the case of the esports or career awards, because in most cases, since I don't know too much in the esports side of things, besides maybe one exception, not be the best esports game. And with the ones that are taken out, we are looking at providing my quick thoughts about insights and what my prediction events will be as well, and see if any accuracy may be better or worse from last year or so. Or it could be like my Oscars predictions from earlier this year, where I got everything except one right. So we'll have to see what this event may come, and I will wrap it up with a little quick predictions of what may be unveiled or shown as an event, but also come to an end, but also in case give my thoughts on what things hopefully will be fixed. So, enough of the formal introductions and running down the events. I'm probably boring you all anyway. You know what you're here for. Let's take the events and let's get talking about my predictions on the Game Awards 2024 and my choices for each of them. Let's get started, shall we?
Esports are sports.
So, we'll start off the award and predictions that I mentioned at the very beginning with the focus of one of the few topics that focus on the likes of the multiplayer aesthetic that comes with the side of the epic games that will be seen on the massive world stage. That comes in the realm of the esports category. And there is a selection of games that comes down to deciding between which game will come out on top as the best game for this year in the realm of esports. And the nominees for this year include Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League of Legends, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, and Valorant. So, it is for sure there's a lot of choice with this category of games, with all of them having a massive audience and appeal, with many tournaments and mass audience and streams, many have a chance to win. There is a case I feel it may come down to at least two to have the most mass appeal from it all, with one of them going off an adaptation that may help appeal with it more, and I feel like maybe either the CSGO successor that has improved since launch not too long ago, the classic multiplayer MOBA that has seen a mass appeal from the recent Netflix series adaptation, and I feel in that regards it will come down to either one, because it seems like they're the ones that are often on every esports event every year, so it could be another straight win for one of them. But strange things can happen when least expected. So if I choose my choice for best esports game, I think it's either going to be between Counter-Strike 2 and or League of Legends.
I'm so excited!
Now, of course, we have a lot of big nominations from this year of the games that released over the last 12 months that have had their lot of games of basically showing proof of massive success and appeal. But there is a lot of games that we know about from the likes of upcoming or ideas of when we may see them happen as well in the future. And while there is a lot more titles that could be a part of the selection here, these are the 5 titles they have seen a mass appeal or discussion since their unveiling, and who we have an idea of when we may see them release. The nominees for this year's anticipated game of the year include Death Stranding 2, On the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds. So it is quite the choice, and sure, many of them have the 2025 release. One does have a release date for late February, and that's Monster Hunter. But I feel with this category, there is clearly one winner of a game that has been hyped for over a decade. When the trailer dropped, the internet lost its collective mind. And it's always a case that people say the next hint of footage is in the mood of the previous title of the online form, and it's that the next Grand Theft Auto title is the one that was always going to be the one that was winning this anticipated media release. Now, if it were not for that one, I would probably put my bets on the long-awaited 4th Metroid title of Beyond as runner-up, as it has been a much longer wait of 17 years since Prime 3 in 2007. For that one, it is definitely going to be the game's win overall in this regards of the next big open-world sandbox game, stealing cars, shooting people, and all that good stuff. So for my winner of choice, it's going to be Grand Theft Auto 6, and the runner-up as another option is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Now, as I briefly alluded to in the first category, it's a case that we have seen a lot of projects in the past get adapted into a different format, where instead of the games that are played on all different consoles, we have the choice to watch them on the form of our TVs or on the big screen. It looks like all the nominees for this year are on the former option, as we had very little in terms of film, besides one that's not out yet until next week as of recording this, and the other was a massive flop. But in the basis of the choices for the shows of best adaptations for this year, our nominees include Arcane with Netflix, Fallout on Amazon Prime Video, Knuckles on Paramount Plus, Like a Dragon Yakuza on Amazon Prime, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft also on Netflix. In all the case, I have not finished all of them yet, besides maybe one or two of them, but I've seen most, and they are pretty good. As if I had to choose which ones that may come down to it, it would be the likes of either Arcane or Fallout, as both of them have been the most highly praised of all the shows for this year. They give so much respect for their projects and source material, tell engaging stories and strong cast with it as well, and if one faltered over the other, it would help benefit each of them. I feel the likes to Arcane might get the slight advantage given it is the very last season that just came out and is probably more relevant to people, but if anything, it'll probably be down to one of these two shows for sure. So my pick for the winner is either going to be between Arcane for Netflix or Fallout for Amazon Prime. Now, our next category is one aspect that's definitely seen some more massive improvement over the years is the element of being more open and having so many more gamers be more accessible to those that may have a little bit more of a difficulty when it comes to playing games, such as sight or hearing issues, as well as other elements like color blindness, in-game functions, and all these functions will help get an idea to where things may be, and many more of each game, and it seems like these 5 nations have seen the most appeal in having that best terms of their accessible methods. And these nominations include Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age The Veil Guard, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, and Star Wars Outlaws. So, what I have learned over time while I was looking at the likes of how well games do accessibility wise, it seems that even when the likes of their reputation and appeal have massively dropped over the last few years, the one company that seems to really do it very well is with the studio of Ubisoft, which probably explains why 2 of their nominees are in this nominations, with their titles have returned to a dormant series in a stylish 2.5D style game, and the other being a new open world game based in the galaxy far, far away. And I feel the likes as well as one I've seen online that has top choice mostly will go towards as a possible safe bet, unless the likes of BioWare's Dragon Age or maybe Diablo has added something that changes the game and becomes the new head honcho for accessibility, then I'm willing to see how it will turn out. Sure, in the case I do not know too much on the likes of using these features myself usually, but I feel either one may have the clear chance. So if I'm going to choose between the choices, I'm going to say it's going to be down between Prince of Persia The Lost Crown and Star Wars Outlaws.
No! You didn't choose, you would have fucking pizza!
Now in the category that I would be more than willing to try a bit more, but it's a case that I either don't have the time, the games, or many people to play them with, that is of course with the likes of the genre of multiplayer, where there is plenty of variety to go from fighting each other to fighting for democracy to proving who is the ultimate superstar. And the choices below are the 5 that have stood out as the best this year in terms of multiplayer, and those games include Call of Duty, Black Ops 6 from Activision, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. As you can see in the likes of these choices that there is a bit of variety to go through from early this year to more recent, but if there is a title that has the biggest pop off and appeal for most of this year, I feel may be the reign of the win for democracy, as the case that the game has seen the biggest mass appeal to a project over the last year that has died down a little since its peak from launch to about April or May, and even with an issue of a dumb concept that Sony was pushing back in May with the PC port, it still managed to be a mass appealing game. And I feel the likes of the award will go for them, but never say never if people want to see the classic run and gun series take the award, or a game that causes more conflicts and ending in friendships and relationships, or likes of, losing over one goddamn coin. But in the case instance, if I'm going to predict for the multiplayer win, I'm going to give it to Helldivers 2. Now as for section, I do not have the most appeal of or play in the aspect of the concept that much of the games based on the likes of sports or racing or a similar style of games, and it usually seems close to how every year looks in general, but who is to say we can at least bring us the mention of the nominees for best sport or racing game, which include F1 24, EA Sports FC 25, NBA 2K25, Top Spin 2K25, and WWE 2K24. Now, in the likes of this category, one that I am aware of is the only game my brothers play that one game every year, which is mainly with the EAFC games. Though I find with them to be in the similar pattern of play at launch, they get bored, say it's not as good as the previous entry, I'll either trade the game in or continue playing it until the next entry and the cycle will continue. But if it's a case as the one channel that seems to be in agreement online for most, is a game with the focus of more physical contact, and that is with the WWE games, which has had a bit of a bumpy few years of recently, but has turned it all around in the end to where it is one of the best reviewed of the titles here, and just cause it's not my best to judge on my own personal choices, I think I'll go with the one that tells me it's time to play the game! So my choice on this sports category is going to be with WWE 2K24.
I had a goddamn plan!
Now, while some games have that element of being the ones with the big action, or simple party games, or something for the whole family to enjoy, but in this instance, it all comes down to the likes of the strategy methods. It comes down to planning ahead and making sure it works in success and victory over defeat. And this comes from the realm of the sim or strategy games, and the basis of the 5 chosen ones above, it comes to the best of the best from this year of battles, strategy, and appeal to a massive crowd, with those nominees being Age of Mythology, Retold, Frostpunk 2, Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and Unicorn Overlord. Now, many of them have some form of unique type of approach and have their appeal from the high fantasy, the anime, or post-apocalyptic for many different areas of appealing audiences. While I may not have played much in the area of this category, I feel off of the appeal of many that it could be the aspect of the anime style games may have the proper chance of winning this year. Sure, I probably don't have much of the best explanation for these games, but I give it as much as I can and go with the choices the case instance, where my prediction for the winner is either going to be Unicorn Overlord or Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess.
Extremely big shit.
Picture this. Have you thought throughout the year that you felt like some games were feeling a little bit too crazy and over the top, and you want something a bit more casual, or something the whole family can enjoy? Then we have that covered for you too, as we have a selection few choices to come from the family game nominations from this year. That'll be fun for you, your sibling, your parents, your aunts, your uncle, your damn pets, and everyone else in between, as the 5 here show some of the best to offer for this year, with those nominees including Astro Bot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Party Jamboree, The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire. Now, if there is one thing to say over all of these titles with this category, was that it was always going to be a more Nintendo heavy category, and all of their titles seem to have some fair share of appeal and success from fantasy adventures, party games, and even a title with the leading princess of the Mushroom Kingdom. But I do wonder that even with all of them having a high chance of winning, will they be overthrown for this year by a little robot who could, from a competitor console, that it may seem like it could be the year of the Astro Bot, which I think the closest competitor from Nintendo is Zelda's newest adventure that actually leads to the actual title, but it could all be to play for, so we shall see. But if I'm going to give my prediction wise, I'm going to say it's down between Astro Bot and Echoes of Wisdom as the family game of the year.
I'll get you, and I'll look like a bloody accident.
Sometimes you can have your multiplayer games that just can be the simple competitive nature, but then you can have the form where of it being 1v1, and it's time to fight. And getting more personal of duking it out in the brawl, as no matter the concept, there's always a time to prove who is the top fighter and is the best of the best, with the fighting games for each year. And the nominees for this year's fighting category include Dragon Ball, Sparkling Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Multiverses, and Tekken 8. So all the titles give a difference in appeal of going back to the retro days, a game similar to the massive franchise of Nintendo focused on IPs of the WB, the ultimate Saiyan battles, and continuing stories that have transpired over the last few years. And it feels like if anyone's game. But if going off the most popular, it may come down to the classic roundup of Marvel v Capcom, of the restoring the respect of the collections of the past, or the continued legacy that the Tekken series has had over its last 20 plus years. And I feel it may come down to these little fighting games of fighting it out to be the overall victor of the spoils. So my prediction winner for this fighting category is either going to be between Tekken 8 or Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection.
Let's play a sexy RPG.
Moving Moving on from fighting games to the realm where you may have to fight to survive in a strange and dangerous world in front of you, and it comes presented to us in the realm of the RPG titles, where the 5 games that are chosen here each have something that they brought to the table this year in the appeal, choice, and variety that comes from these titles, which include the nominees' options of Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Eared Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor Refantasio. It is to say that it may come down to the likes of the 3 titles that have all found itself in the Game of the Year category, as it seems to be the one that's seen across multiple categories, but it could be more down to the continued remake of the Final Fantasy's most beloved entry of the series, or a new title from Atlas Studios that has the DNA and appeal of the beloved series of Persona. They may not be that series, but will still have the heart and soul of that franchise seeped into every part of that title. While I would also say Elden Ring, I think that due to the likes of the original game dominating these categories just 2 years ago, it may be a bit of a jump, but we would have to see when maybe it's a possibility of making that as the top 3, but it will be more down to the likes of those last 2 entries. So in the case of my predictions for Best RPG, I'm going to go between Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Metaphor Refantasio. So these next 2 categories do have a similar tone and form of nature to it all, and the only distinct difference with this one is that while things can get exciting and action-packed, there is an extra element to it that comes in the form of the adventure narrative that comes packed with these titles, with the 5 nominees having the rising action and then the likes of it being mixed with the massive adventure that comes along with it. And those nominees include Astro Bot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2 Remake, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Now all these titles bring a wondrous sense of adventure to their games, and blending with the genres of sci-fi adventure, horror revivals, high fantasy, or ancient culture, they all have something that appeals to different audiences. If there is a case that may have the slight advantage, it may be with the Astrobot game again, going off its mass appeal and reception as an excellent platformer and a legacy title for the PlayStation's 30 plus years. There is one other title that also saw great appeal and success very early in the year and could have the chance to get the win, and that is with the new Prince of Persia title that deserves a bit more of the love that kind of feels a bit overlooked. Now I'm sure with the likes of those 3 other titles, they have their chances in the other categories, but I feel it may come down to the Prince and the Robot. So my prediction winner for this category is between Astrobot and The Lost Crown. Now we take that adventure and we throw it out the window, and is now talking the focus of the one aspect piece we have here, and that's with the focus of action. That while you may have some story narrative or objectives, it's all a case of reaching those objectives, but shooting, fighting, and blowing things up. And it comes down to the appeal of the titles that represent the action the best from this year, which include the nominees of Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. So as a case, we have some familiar faces from some other categories, and the first were I believe 2 of them, and I think personally it will come down to those 2 new additions, with the likes of Wukong being in the realm of the Souls-like gaming experience that is bolstered by the element of fantastic visuals and great use of setting and legends and mythology, and being a surprise success on the start of the gaming fall season, and the likes of Stellar Blade having that element of the 3D hack and slash that also has some elements to the Nier series, and the likes of bringing appeal to the games, even if it did have something sort of a booby gate of some other costume alterations. But I think overall it will come down to one of those choices in general, and I think personally, as they were the ones I felt stood out from the category, while the other 3 may appeal in the other categories, like I said the previous entry. So my prediction for this one is between Black Myth Wukong or Stellar Blade.
Virtual reality.
Now on the basis of getting into the realm of getting closer to the game, as we strap on the headsets and head into the world of virtual reality and AR titles as well, as putting you in the action a lot more closer than you may want to experience it, and it has been seen that the VR experience have really advanced over the last year, and these 5 titles have proven that there is a possibility that we have really untapped potential with this area of gaming. And those games include the nominees of Arizona Sunshine Remake, Asgard's Wrath 2, Batman Arkham Shadow, Metal Hellsinger VR, and Metro Awakening. Now, they all have some unique approaches and methods of appeal, but there is one that I know that personally, and the opinion online is the clear indication, and that is of course with the new Batman game, as you can't be Batman. Do I even need to say more? But if I have to choose a runner-up, I feel it's best to go with the other recent title with Metro, as I've heard a lot of decent praise, and it's probably worth getting the VR2 for to play. But I think if choosing the winner is becoming The Dark Knight, has my pick. So if I'm going to choose a winner, I'm going to go with Batman Arkham Shadows, and a runner-up with Metro Awakening.
Do you got games on your phone?
Oh, excuse me. So the next category is ones that I will not have us sitting at the TV with a big console, but rather with games that we will find on our small little tech items we have in our persons at all times. And that is with the element of the mobile games, where it's seen a massive stride in movement with advancements in the games and products that have popped up on our phones. And while a few are ports, these 5 have proven to be the most appealing in success, and the most popular of the year, and most likely to drain your battery much quick, with those nominees including AFK Journey, Balatro, Pokemon Trading Card Game Mobile, Wuthering Waves, and Senseless Zone Zero. All of these cover all forms of tiles and elements that everyone will enjoy, and I know that one of the tiles is one someone I care for has been playing a whole lot for the last little while alongside with the popular game of Genshin Impact. That would be probably my top 3 of personal choice. While the likes of the other games that I feel may be a bit of a contest, with that first one will involve a lot of cards, and as may as well be the case will come down between the indie success of Balatro or the game that has been popping off with some that I know with the Pokemans, given the cards are already a success in physical form, that the digital form is now just as popular. So if given the idea for this, I think it'll be one of these 3. So my predicted winner and runner-up options will be between Balatro, Pokemon Trading Card Game Mobile, and Wuthering Waves.
Come together right now.
Now there are games that come out every year that will just appear in one year's nominations and be the likes of that. But then there's a case where there are those titles from the past and present that will come along and prove a sense of extra substance. And it's always nice, that little tasty aftercourse, that when the gamers are happy, then everyone is happy, that they can all come together and create something fun, provide many fixes and issues from the collective community. And I think from these titles show just how much of the positive support can come from all of these. The nominations presented here for best community supported game in being Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. When it comes to the case of the appeal of the games, and some of them, like Fortnite and Final Fantasy, would be a regular appearance on this nominee, but I feel it might be down to 2 more recent entries, as we have the Game Awards darling and Game of the Year of Baldur's Gate on the list, and then we have the beloved multiplayer game of Democracy as the top choices for this year. Now it may go with Baldur's Gate, as well Helldivers would be the top option. I feel that little hiccup with the whole needing PS Plus on the PC fiasco from earlier this year may affect it just a little bit. But besides all that, I feel it will come down to one of these 2 options in general for community support. So my choices are between Baldur's Gate 3 or Helldivers 2.
They're gonna make him do this till he's 90.
So when besides the likes of the games of great support from the community and team go hand in hand, it can also come to the likes of the appeal and outcome of the projects that have been ongoing since launch, and be these shining examples of surviving the loss of appeal in gaming or dying on arrival, or not giving a chance to prove their worth, but these ones have survived and continue to bring the appeal for the choice of nominations, including for ongoing game of Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy XIV,
Fortnite,
and Helldivers 2. Now, in all fairness, it seems like the one game that will always seem to take the crown for this award category is the Final Fantasy title, as has been the winner for the last few years, if I remember correctly. Though I do feel it may have a bit of a competition with the likes of the Helldivers game, and it could be an evenly matched fight this year. But I guess it will all come down to the appeal of fantasy or democracy. So my predictions for the best ongoing game will either be between Final Fantasy XIV or Helldivers 2. Now, of course, like any of those that want to make a career in the industry, they will at some point want to start off somewhere where they'll have the chance to make it happen, and always best to start off small, as going big straight away can be a little bit messy outcome, and starting in the indie scene help to create some games that for some debut titles, they are quite impressive in scope, scale, or appeal to the masses. I know one person who is making one, and I hope to see this will be in a nomination down the line in the future, because they did some excellent work on the design of things. And these 5 nominations have proven that their debut title will lead to so many more big things in the future, and those games include Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire. Some of those conversations and discussions I have witnessed from the information superhighway seems to point towards two titles from both of the indie categories taking the win, and it comes down to roguelike card game Balatro and the new Metroidvania type style from one developer of Animal Well that shows some unique methods of strategy and appeal and entertainment value with such replayability. Sure, there could be some of the other ones, like the ones that make it the top 3 is the Manor Lords title, but I feel it will come down to one of these two games sweeping the indie section or getting one apiece. So my prediction on this section is Balatro or Animal Well. But okay, sometimes with those games that have started out or made a jump to the big leagues in the scene, that some will come back with proving that their niche and appeal comes from the realm of the indie scene. And it wasn't just a one-hit wonder, and some of the games have seen a double nominee this year, and some from developers who have had titles in the past may be up to prove that they were not a one-time success. And those games for the best indie game of the year include Animal Well, Balatro, Laura Lee and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50. Now, like I mentioned in the previous category, it seems like the two big competitors of these indie categories is with Animal Well or Balatro. But with this one, there has been one other title that has made the rounds that could affect and shake up the win, and that is with the title of UFO 50, one that covers all genres and shakes it up in the likes of a fictional console and showing impressive feat of technology from the development team. But from the case that there is too many amazingly developed titles in this category, then it could be a free-for-all in both, but I would be surprised that the two from both categories be the ones that fight it out to see who was the overall victorious. So for this category, I'm going between Animal Well, Balatro, or UFO 50 for best indie title.
This shit means something to me, man.
Now, of course, you can have titles that have come to the sense of providing escape from reality for a bit of time, which is what the realm of entertainment and media does. But it also has a sense where many games can also provide a much deeper message and impact to all those that play them. And these nominations will prove that there is many that provide an impact in many different ways than they may think or want to tell you to an audience. Those games include Closer to Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kenzera Zao. So many of the titles of both AAA and indie can have the sense that they can provide the appeal of many different factors and elements that can leave a deeper impact during the game and long after the credits have rolled. Now, if I had to go off of my intuition for this year's nominees, I think the one that may stand out as a deeper connection of parental care and environmental messaging, similar to one of the best movies of this year in particular, is with Neva. And to choose a runner-up and tells a more personal tale of life and passing of his father and legacy with Tales of Kenzera. I know some of the other ones may have their appeal with others, like the deeper messaging on religion with Indica, but I feel in all the others they may have a bit of a mixed appeal on some of the messaging, and then maybe the titles of choice that might take the appeal overall. Some predictions this area is with Neva or Tales of Kenzera Zao.
I want to be an actor.
And of course, with a lot of titles of recent memory that have the form of big budget titles or even the likes of some indie hits, sometimes it could be highlighted with the use of voice work and talent to bring a character to life, or even help to bring an appeal to a project given a new coat of paint, to provide a more enhanced form of something familiar. And these were the 5 nominees were seen as the best selection for this year's games with performances, which include Brianna White for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hannah Tell for Life is Strange Double Exposure, Humberly Gonzalez for Star Wars Outlaws, Luke Roberts for Silent Hill 2, and Melina Jurgens for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Now, each of these performances have brought a sense of difficult range and appeal, different range and appeal to their games that may have been catered from horror, fantasy, action, sci-fi, and many other genres of games and stories that they find themselves in. It's hard to say as to who I think will be the most appealing, but there is a sense of all things that may be given a little bit fair of this one to the Final Fantasy title, as Brianna White brings so much more weight and charisma to the character of Aerith, giving her importance to the game of Final Fantasy VII. And while I'm unsure of how many more titles there is for this extended reboot, I can tell her performance will hit so much more when it gets to the very ending of that title. Now, everyone else has a strong performance and all deserve the wins, but to choose one, I'll have to go with Aerith herself. Now, prediction winner I'm saying is Brianna White for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, of course, like with any game, while you may have the sense of the pretty visuals that the amazingly talented developers have created, it also goes hand in hand with the area of the audio aspects, and it helps to get the idea of playing to the strengths of getting those immersed into the worlds created, as with the chosen games in this category that help to really immerse yourselves in the world created and escaped from in a bit of our time. So those game nominations include Astro Bot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. Now many titles can have that sense of pulling you into the worlds and all that, but it's all the case that for me, in some way of this a bit of a bias, I always think that the one genre that helps the most is when there is an element of horror placed in the title. And I feel it may be a duel between Hellblade and Silent Hill, as I think if the audio and sound for this is done well and right, and I think that it may help put any player on edge and really make the goosebumps stand up on end when it comes to games that focus on or have elements of horror. So my predictions for best audio design is going between Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, or Silent Hill 2.
Want to listen to some tunes?
Now, similar in nature to the tone of the previous category, this one also has the element and use of sound in a certain way, but is more in the realm of the music score that is presented in points where needed, from combat sections, unsettling moments to set the tone, or even something nice to listen to while traveling about in a colorful world, even if it's more minimized or not in this decibel levels. And these are 5 games that have seen the most appeal from their music scores from this year, and those games include Astro Bot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade. So in the sense where I would see the likes of the horror titles being the fit more for the audio and sound category, I feel that if things are fast paced and full of action, then it would be the more better choice on that front to be the better section for things for music, where I think it might be a clash between Free for one that likes Final Fantasy, Stellar Blade, or Metaphor. Being the ones who will all come down to in the end, and feel like going off the style and visuals it gives off, I think the ReFantazio could be the one that may go just that little bit above it in terms of its fast-paced action, its gameplay and tone that will make the music truly pop off and appeal. But who is to say where the other games may steal a win from it all, and could prove the music is a lot more powerful in these games than we first thought. So my prediction choices is between Metaphor ReFantazio, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or Stellar Blade.
Well, okay, I'm James Sunderland. Let me tell you about a little foggy wonderland.
We have really gone on this long now without bringing up the focus of one of the big aesthetics that many people would be quick to discuss about, and that is with the visuals and graphics that bombard our eyes with so much color and unique forms and provide something interesting in the way that art is presented to us in these games. And it comes to these 5 that were chosen as some of the best in the way that they went about it. And those games include Astro Bot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Niva. So all the games have a distinct style to them, and with the likes of some from the indie scene, some that give a sense of realism in a dangerous dark world, some have that appeal of the wonder to a 3D platformer, and some with the influence of an anime style title with some unique visuals. And the extent of choosing ones myself, I feel maybe the last 2 nominees mentioned of the Metaphor or Niva as the tough competition, as Metaphor's visuals that have the little mix of persona and blended with scenes that look like a bit of an oil painting in style, or Niva's beautiful, simplistic but warm and inviting color-filled world that comes to life as the title progresses is something I can see be the choice that it will come down to, and not clear which one may be the overall focus of artistic genius. So my choice on predictions for art direction is between Metaphor ReFantazio or Niva.
Story makers,
Working through the night till the rising sun.
Now, with all the technical side of things out of the way, it comes down to one last element to that, and that is with the focus of the narrative that we will find ourselves on for the point of multiple hours that will vary in appeal, and tales that will go on and on for. And these 5 games nominated this year seem to be the ones taking that narrative in the best way it can possibly go in terms of entertainment and value. And those games include Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. So it's a case of wondering if people are more interested in the win being given to a new narrative story, or if it's a case that one of the 2 titles from this year that were remade or tell another part of the story to a long planned remake for one game. And it seems to be the case that the latter option might be the more strongest for people to feel accustomed to and for the safe form over the others, but it's hard to say and can go for any of the titles present. But I guess the story for this one will be foretold in due time. But our predictions for this one is going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Silent Hill 2.
Somebody please give me directions!
While all of the aspects of technical aesthetic are an important element to any project in general, it also comes down to the discussion that if not given the proper direction, vision, or scope, then everything will completely fall apart from the get-go. But when you have the clear goal from the developers and creatives, you can help to make something that stands out and achieves so much in the realm of video games, and the nominees have proven it can be truly possible, with those games being Astro Bot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. So all these titles have something interesting and unique to bring to the table and offer a clear direction to help make any of them stand out in any ways. Now, I have been a little overlooking on one of the games, and that is of course with Shadow of the Erdtree. That has been a bit of a black sheep of this year's nominees, given it is a massive expansion pack DLC for the original Elden Ring game. But I will give it some love in particular for this category, as the focus and direction up to this is showing how you do an expansion the right way, like some of the other DLCs of the last few years that we've seen as well. Now I feel in all sense it may be one of the two Souls-like titles in this category that may get the appeal of best direction, as I find when it's done right, it makes it worth the challenge and playthrough overall. So my choices for best game direction is between Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree or Black Myth Wukong.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
This is the one that every studio and developer hopes to achieve and receive a nomination, a possible win for, and this of course with Game of the Year. We have 6 massive titles that have proven themselves to be the best of the best from different genres, mass appeal, reception, even the way we may play games that have proven to work wonders in the realm of the different category nominees, and now it will all come down to see which one may take the title, which include Astro Bot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. Now all these titles have a distinct appeal and mass success over the years that spans from AAA, the indie scene, and even the realm of DLC, and many have a distinct chance of winning. Now, most say that the chance of winning goes off the highest scoring game of the year, and seeing if that is the case, then it may be the Little Robot who may take that title as the highest reviewed game of this year, and I think it may be the worthy winner in that regards. But on the basis of choosing choosing one myself as well as going up against it, there is a part of me that is leaning towards the likes of the Wukong title, as it comes out of nowhere, has something unique and exciting for the mythos it uses in blending with a Souls-like title, and seems to be a favourite and more recognised entry from recent memory. Sure, any of these titles have a chance on deserving one at that to win, but I think it may come down to these 2 titles for me personally. So my choice for Game of the Year is Astro Bot or Black Myth Wukong, and that's all those nominees.
I mean, I have a few notes.
So that's of course all the predictions out of the way, but I will be wrapping this up with a whole ordeal with a focus on just the unpredictable ones of what games may be getting some new looks and footage at this year's event. But there's also one other thing I want to bring up, and hopefully is an element that's something I hope will be fixed for this year's event. That was kind of a big dilemma and controversy after last year's one. Now is the element of the acceptance speeches. So for those who may not have forgotten from last year, one of the big dramas was how little the actual award show was dedicated to the actual award wins and winners speeches, as in the 3.5-hour show from last year, only about 30 minutes were made up for the actual awards themselves, and even in that case with the acceptance speeches, they were barely given any time. I think they were given like 30 seconds to talk due to the usual stigma of the award shows of please wrap this up. And then for the other 3 hours consisted of random ad breaks or giving more in-depth discussions and talks on the new game announcements, which sure you can give a little discussion to the games, but at least let the actual award winners get a bit of time to talk and thank people to give their deep personal response to it all, instead of cutting it short or rushing them off to give 20 minutes to a game that's probably a few years away from now. You know, part of this shortening was maybe due to the 8-minute acceptance speech from Christopher Judge, who played Kratos in 2022, but in all instances, while I was seeing the new game announcements, I think hearing the acceptance and speeches and thanks to those that gave their hard-earned time and effort to make the nominees happen, or a case of people that they lost on the journey and now pushed them to the side. And hopefully it's a case since they will fix this for this year's event, because that's the one hope I have with this whole category. So let's hope this actually gets fixed. So that's basically my only gripe I have for this show. So now we're going to go into talking about my sort of a case of predictions on the announcements. Now some of these are going to be ones I feel likely are going to happen, and there's probably a small few at the very end I will give a focus on that I feel is a bit of a stretch, but one can dream. So let's get into what I feel is likely going to be announced at this year's event. So on the basis of ones that seem like an actual possibility, I feel maybe it's about time that we get the first look at the upcoming Wolverine title from Insomniac Games. As announced back in 2021, along with their Spider-Man sequel, I feel it's time to give a spotlight to that game at this point and hope for release some point next year or early 2026. Another one I hope and will probably be a case that we might finally get release date for the new Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater remake, with my guess going for around February or March of next year, or the latest be this summer around Kojima's birthday. Speaking of Kojima, I think we may also get a new look or gameplay for his Death Stranding sequel and a release date for the point in 2025, maybe even a sort of new proper look at maybe some gameplay or some other aspect about who else will be involved with this new horror title of OD. But probably more of the former may be more likely in this regards. Now, another remaster I have heard about as well as recent was a bundle collection of all the Greek-era God of War games that would be the original trilogy, the Ascension prequel, and the 2 PSP titles of Ghost of Sparta and Chains of Olympus that have been floating the rumor mill for the last few weeks. And one more on this superhero front is a like that I hope we can see more about the new Blade title that was announced last year, because that was kind of interesting and maybe worth a try when it does release. As for the last two, I feel it'll be sort of a focus for two big game companies. I feel at a push, maybe a second trailer for GTA 6 at the event, and then the other would be to get the idea of what the newest game IP from Naughty Dog is, or maybe they go completely out of nowhere and be like the PlayStation event from about 2016 and end it with like a Last of Us Part 3 announcement or something like that, the last one. But it's a little bit of a stretch, but who knows with this regards in the category. And as for the ones that may have a bit of a chance but seem a very, very slim chance of announcements, but one can dream, I have 3 hopeful announcements. The first is that after being dormant and quiet for over 5 years at this point, we get an update of a new trailer for the sequel to Beyond Good and Evil. As has been mentioned recently back in like late October, that the game is still coming along in decent development and has hit a recent milestone, even under some new creative director after the tragic passing of the original game's director. So maybe we can get a small tease from it, or at least confirmation it's still happening. I'm all for like a sequel to Beyond Good and Evil. But speaking of the same studio of Ubisoft, one that I always ask and wish for the better part of a decade at this point is the announcement of a new game in the Rayman series, either as the 4th title after Hoodlum Havoc or follow-up to Legends, because I think it is time for the Limbless hero to return to this point. And finally, this one seems like a bit of a stretch, and they may do their own little event for it, but hope that maybe we can get the unveiling of what the Switch successor will look like, or even the name of the project itself, an idea of when we can expect it. Nintendo has been very quiet about it for a bit, and I feel they may have one plan for the unveiling in probably January or something like that, but it could be a good place to unveil and go more into detail at a later date. But with that, I think I'll leave it with the predictions and what I hope may be fixed for this award show, but I guess we'll see how this comes along. And it's time to wrap this all up, shall we?
Good night, everybody.
So this shall wrap everything up, and I want to congratulate all of those that have found success with their games and the nominees for this year, and even in the case that some that have missed out on the opportunity or overlooked or judged from the get-go may be worth a chance to give it a go. Even if they're not nominated this year, I feel you can give it a chance. You know, there's fans out there for some of them, no matter how big or small the audience may be. I want to congratulate all of the teams and developers who put in their time and effort into those entertainment pieces in a time where things may be a little grim. There's a lot of layoffs that are detriment to a lot of these studios, and all other issues that go against it that can be find a way to appeal to some and become something that many will enjoy in the future and look forward to playing in the games to catch up, and some games I had to catch up on from the last year and more into the future. So in the case, just to wrap it up, I will place all the predictions for winners below one place of the reminder of my choices that either be some accurate and some with a bit of a miss. I'm going to make this a bit of a speed run as well, so let's get this doing, so let's start it. Best esports game goes to Counter-Strike 2 and or League of Legends. Most anticipated game is going to be GTA 6 or Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Best adaptation is going to be between Arcane or Follow. Innovation and accessibility is going to be between Prince of Persia or Star Wars Outlaws. For best multiplayer is going to be between Helldivers 2. Best sports and racing game will be WWE 2K25. Best sim and strategy game is Unicorn Overlord or Kunitsugami. Best fighting game is going to be between Astrobot or Legends of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Best fighting game is going to be between Tekken 8 or Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. Best RPG is going to go for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Metaphor ReFantasio. Best action adventure game is going between Astrobot or Prince of Persia Lost Crown. Best action game is going for Black Myth Kong or Stellar Blade. VR AR title game is going between Arkham Shadows or Metro Awakening. Best mobile game is going between Balatro or Pokemon Trail Card Game Mobile or Wuthering Waves. Best community supported game is going to be between Baldur's Gate 3 and Helldivers 2. Best ongoing game is going to be Final Fantasy 14 or Helldivers 2. Best debut indie game is either Balatro or Anowell. Best indie game is going to be between Anowell, Balatro or U450. Best game for impact is between Nevo or Tales of Kenzero Zao. Best performance gone for Brianna White for Final 7 Rebirth as Aerith. Best sound and audio design is gone for Senua Saga Hellblade 2 or Silent Hill 2. Best score and music at Meta is gone for Metaphor ReFantazio or Possible Runner for Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth or Stellar Blade. Best art direction is gone for Metaphor ReFantazio or Neva. Best narrative is gone for Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth or Silent Hill 2. Best game direction is gone for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree or Black Myth Wukong. And by Game of the Year choices Astrobot or Black Myth Wukong. And now with all of that, this is all I have to say on this event. I'd like to know your own thoughts and opinions on everything about this event in particular. I'd like to know your own picks and nominees for this year's nominations. You can also check down below of just the Game Awards in particular. It should be live by the time this episode goes up. So in the case instance, let me know your thoughts and everything about the opinions of what games we nominated this year, and what you're hoping to see might be announced at this event. And also, do you think that they will fix the whole acceptance speech thing from last year? But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, as I love to hear all those predictions, and let's have the discussion down there, like a nice civil one. I shall leave it as such. So I've been your host for the evening, and I hope you enjoyed listening to my sultry voice announcing these announcements, as I'm sure you have. And I hope you all stay being wonderful people, have a great day every day, and I shall see you all maybe next year for another rendition of the award show, maybe hopefully shorter. But as always, you all stay being wonderful people, and I shall see you all probably in the next event or the next video. So take care, and goodbye everybody. Thank you for having me.